Hi everyone, Morten Aastad here. Welcome to my channel. In this video I thought I would tackle a challenge set forth by Alan from the Static Traveller. Now I was not aware of this challenge to begin with, or perhaps not either Alan's channel. I became aware of it through a video by Rob Eisen and then later by other members of the vinyl community that I subscribe to or I communicate with, like for example Darryl, Northern Vinyl Guy, and so on. So Alan put forth a challenge where he tackles this thing. Now, a lot of you guys out there, of course, will already have seen videos tackling this book and will be aware of it, either because you own it or one of the later editions or earlier editions. Mine's from 2005. So, what records should and shouldn't be in this book? That's a lengthy question. How did I use this book? Well, seems I've mostly been putting like one of these on records that I own, and I'm not sure how inspiring really it was, but the idea is to put up some records. I think most people are going with 5 that you think deserve, or rather are more deserving of being in this book than maybe some of the others. Argument for, against, etc. So of course I've seen variants of this thread being done, some to the letter and some with some other ways of thinking of how to do it. Now, what struck me about all of this, in that I haven't really seen entries by a lot of people from non-English speaking countries, and that book is that it is of course very Anglo, as you know. Most of what's in that book is music sung in English, be it proper English or from Australia, the UK and all that, and America, and not so much other languages. And I'm not saying that I am going to show you now records entirely sung in different languages, which I do from time to time, but it tends to be Welsh if you follow my channel. So I got the Norwegian flag there, and because I thought, well, are there any Norwegian artists in this book? And yes, there are. And I'm not going to, argue that there should be a ton more, or that the Norwegian records that are there are wrong. To each their own. And there are some great Norwegian artists. But I thought I'd venture an attempt at showing some records by Norwegian artists that I think should be in this book. I was thinking first about Scandinavian artists because of my, Norwegian, Danish, and Swedish heritage. But I thought, well, I already have quite a few records now from Norwegian artists, so let's do that, and then maybe I'll look at some Danes in another video, or Swedish, or I'll leave it to the Danes and the Swedes, the ones that are not residing in this country. So let's have a look, shall we? So let's first look at something that seems quite obvious. If you know any band from Norway, you will most likely know a-ha, and a-ha's album Hunting High and Low. Now, Hunting High and Low is in the 1001 book, at least in my edition from 2005, and nothing wrong with that. I was going to say, but it's the wrong a-ha album. But I regret having thought, I would say that, because it is, it's a milestone in Norwegian pop music, rock music history. It did really well. The single "Take on Me," of course, went to number 1 on the US Billboard, which no other Norwegian artist, I think, has replicated. But that is not what I think is the best AHA album. And unfortunately, their popularity and their perceived existence in the US disappeared quite quickly after this. They did have one more top 20 hit with "The Sun Always Shines on TV," but then, in my opinion, they released their best album next, and it did not do well in the US. Later on, they would actually record a song for The Living Daylights, the first James Bond movie starring Timothy Dalton, but they refused to return from a tour in Japan to promote and attend the opening in London at the movie's premiere, and apparently that fostered some bad blood, and subsequently they would experience not being talked to in any way or fashion by American music press, like, for example, MTV. But in my opinion, their best album, and it's in a frame because it's a signed copy, is "Scoundrel Days." And I'm thinking, well, that makes it more or less impossible for you to listen to it, doesn't it? Well, I have the vinyl here, of course, and it's in here. And it contains songs like, "Scoundrel Days," "I've Been Losing You," "Manhattan Skyline" is an absolutely wonderful. You got a little more, let's call it jaunty tune with the swing of things, and "Cry Wolf," another corker. So, in my opinion, if there is only one AHA album in the 1001 book, it ought to be "Scoundrel Days." Now, another Norwegian artist who is well known, and I tried to check if I had to go online and check a list of all the albums listed in 1001 book, and obviously then the ones after 2005, because this album came out in 2016. And this is "All My Demons Greeting Me as a Friend" by Aurora. If you think that a country, and I don't like necessarily saying that she is our so-and-so and so and so, but if I want to explain to an uninitiated person about Aurora, who is such a singular person, such a remarkable personage and an artist. If you go 20, 25 years back in time, or even a bit more maybe now, and you say, well, this is Norway's answer to Björk or something ludicrous like that, but still, I feel it kind of encapsulates the essence of Aurora, who released another wonderful album this year. She's now on her, was it 5th or 6th album, and she has a track from this album that recently reached a staggering amount of plays on the old Spotify. And the reason for this is a series on Netflix now, and I'll have you Google Aurora instead of the reason why, or the title of this Netflix series, but it's Through the Eyes of a Child, which is right there. So this album has actually gotten a bit of a lift of late, and hopefully that'll make people listen to Aurora even more. Now, another Norwegian band that I know shows up from time to time in the vinyl community and is mentioned abroad, and was, of course, mentioned a lot more when these albums first came out, were and are the Kings of Convenience. This was their debut album, Quiet is the New Loud, and unfortunately I don't have any of their records on vinyl, but I am just showing you these because I want to show you the album I want to show you, which I have recently shown in other versions, but I really love this album. And you know, if Darryl I, which is one of the two members of Kings of Convenience, I love what he does with Kings of Convenience, but what he does in not only on his solo albums, but he did in another project he was working with in a band, which just seems a bit more me, a bit more Morton. It's the Whitest Boy Alive, which is listed correctly as a Norwegian German band. This is him working with some music friends of his from Berlin, I think, well, at least in Germany. And they released 2 albums. I was lucky to get this on vinyl. The debut album, unfortunately, has been released on vinyl just twice, and both once in Norway and once in Germany, and in both cases the number of records pressed were 500. So yeah, I don't think there's much of a chance of me getting one of those, but there are. This is just interesting, quirky. Is it lo-fi? I don't remember. But I would really want you guys, if you know get anything from this video, to check out The Whitest Boy Alive, and then, you know, if you haven't already, of course, Kings of Convenience. So the next band that I want to show you, I've shown also a few times. They were the prize this record was a prize in a competition I held last year, and which Northern Vinyl guy won, by the way. But I'm first of all, I'm proud to know these couple of these guys. I worked with the singer, his twin brother. I've met a few times, and again, it's Tusmørke. And this was their 2023 album, which, they've released one new album since. This is Hestehoven. They're a Norwegian prog band, and if you check out the Prog Corner, he talks to them and he talks about them. He's very enthusiastic about Tusmørke. It's a band that shows that not just Ian Anderson and Ron Burgundy can play the flute, but it sounds medieval, or it sounds occult, it sounds rocking, it sounds folk, and it's a wonderful experience. And I wanted to show you maybe a couple of other records, but they are mainly on CD. But I'll show you this much earlier record, Underjordisk Tusmørke, because this might be a good way in if you want to sort of dip your feet in the Tusmørke cauldron, because there are a couple of tracks, or at least one very long track here in English as well. And that leads me, before I show the last band, to one of the thoughts I had about doing this. Is, yes, most of this is sung in English, and think about all the people out there in the world who enjoy rock bands and rock music sung in English, but doesn't understand what is being sung or said or communicated, but still love it. And I'm thinking back when I started listening to rock music at a very early age. We're talking like 4 years old, and by the time I was 5 or 6, I was getting my own rock records because of my much older siblings. I was drawn to it all the time. And I didn't understand English probably until I was about 7 or 8 years old. but I know it wasn't a hindrance. It wasn't like I was listening to Norwegian children records or Danish children records in order to understand, because I wouldn't. So thinking about all those people out there in the world who enjoy this wonderful music that we all love, and sort of, but still just listen to it and embraces it, even though they cannot understand what is being sung. And you should see these YouTube videos, maybe of some passionate rock combo from like Thailand or the Philippines, and they're singing their hearts, but the lyrics are either just gibberish that sounds like the English words, or it's really badly translated. And that's one of the reasons I thought I'd do this 1001 albums that should be in the 1001 about bands from my country of Norway. Finally, I've talked about this band before, and like Kings of Convenience, they're basically a duo. I'll just show you a couple of these CDs. This is the band Bel Canto, and I absolutely adore them. This was one of the very first bands in Norway to use computers in recording music, and for a long time I didn't have any of their music on anything but CD. This is a good comp if you don't want to try and hunt this down, retrospect. And the singer Anneli Drecker, this is her solo debut. She performed with Bel Canto, of course. She's performed a lot as a solo artist. And another band that I would have liked to have shown, but they're actually in the 1001 book as well, along with is Røyksopp. And Røyksopp, of course, recruits female singers quite often to guest on their albums, and they've had what's her name now? She's a member of Knife and performs solo as Fever Ray from Sweden, and Robin, also from Sweden, but also Anneli Drecker have performed for Røyksopp. So, but just very recently, I managed to get this beautiful album, Radiant Green, on vinyl here in Oslo. This is their most recent album, and it's so recent that it's from November, and it was their first new album in was it 21 or 22 years actually. So if you have a chance, if any of these bands interest you, of course, I would go for absolutely Bel Canto and The Whitest Boy Alive, and Tusmørke, of course, performs mostly in Norwegian, but it's all about the mood. Now, finally, I was looking for this record to show you, but it's in Denmark. I didn't bring it up. I thought I'd brought it up last time I was there. So I'll show you the CD. This is a band that I also have a slight connection with. There's one of the big four, they're called. There were four Oslo bands that sort of dominated the music scene in Norway from the mid-'80s and into the early 2000s. And they sing almost entirely Norwegian. And this is their third album, which I think is probably my personal favorite. Why I have a bit of a connection with this is there are two singer-songwriters in this band. The main one is Lars Lillo, who went to the same school as me, a few years older. And they also have a bass player, Lars Bäckström, who usually writes between 1 or 2, 3 songs per album, and has enough of a different style to I would say you know, you have your sort of your Neil Young with DeLillos or Lars Lillo, and then you have this a bit more morbid thing with Lars Bäckström, and that really they complement each other. So this is so if you just want to give listening to music that you can't necessarily understand, but just enjoy the music. This is Hjernen alene, which, you know, directly translated is the brain is alone. I guess the mind is alone, and it's one of the most wonderful, in my opinion, Norwegian albums, and not least Norwegian language albums ever recorded. So there, guys, that was my entry into 1001 albums. A couple of extras shown there for good measure, but more or less to try and hammer home a point. Thank you so much for watching, if you watched this far, and please click like, that helps my channel if you want to subscribe, and thank you to all my new subscribers. That makes me happy. I hope to see you soon in another video. Goodbye.